discontinued.
So how about your other half sisters?
I never hear anything from them, but I get some news from my auntie who is still living in their hometown, telling me that one of my half sisters, by the name of Boule, she was a medical doctor in the upcountry in Anhui province.
Oh,
The other one I lost track of it.
okay. Wow. So I didn't know you had four other siblings. So
You,
who
you,
did
you never you don't know that I have other siblings because you never ask. Your mother knew about it.
Oh, see, that's why we have this tape.
Yes.
So, so who did your father live with?
My father lives mainly with my mother. He's kind of abandoned the other wife. And I think 30 years before my father's death, she requested for divorce
Mm.
while she was in Shanghai and my father was in Hong Kong. And the divorce was granted, and she married again
Oh, okay.
into another province in Anhui province, which is about 250 miles north of Shanghai.
But how how did your father legally marry the two women?
In during the 1930s, there was no really a legal system to enforce. Theoretically, it is illegal, but in practice, everybody does though.
Oh, okay. Okay. So how did you know about this other family while you're growing up?
Yes, yes. In fact, before the age of 5, we were living together
Really?
in the same house.
Wow. Was it a big house?
It's a medium house, different floors. We live in one floor, and my half brother and sisters living on another floor.
Oh, wow. So how did the two women get along or not really? Two mothers?
Uh, on the surface, they were on talking terms, but it is kind of confrontation all the time,
Yeah.
which I remember. But I'm in very good terms with my brother and half sisters. We were playing together.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So, what do you remember your mother being like? You said she was very strong.
My mother is a very pretty person and with a very strong will, and she was very confrontational with my father. My father was always backing away from confrontation.
Oh,
So she's a strong-willed woman.
how did they meet?
I think they met socially. In fact, my the other mother of mine was a friend of my mother. They went to learn some English skill together. That's how they met.
Oh, so your mother knew the other woman.
Yes,
Wow. And the other woman knew your father through his grandfather.
yes, yes.
What kind of business was he in?
My grandfather used to own a taxi company,
Oh, like a
and
car or a rickshaw
yeah,
or?
no. It's a real taxi service, which is the second largest in Shanghai at that time.
Was he wealthy?
According to what I know, my grandfather was not wealthy, but his sister, which means my grand aunt, married a very wealthy Taiwan man. The last name is Lin in the rice business. So he is a very rich person, and my grand aunt managed to ask him to finance this taxi company.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. So, let's see. So, where were you born?
I was born in Shanghai in the year of 1937, in November the 19th. 1937 in Chinese lunar calendar happens to be the year of the ox.
Okay. So, you're year of the ox. And where did you grow up?
Uh, I was born in Shanghai and I grew up in Shanghai until 9 years old. I went to grade school in Shanghai, also kindergarten in Shanghai.
So, where did you go when you were 9?
Uh, when I was 9, that was in 1946, after the completion of the Second World War, and my father was working for his friends in a trading firm in Hong Kong, and he called the whole family to move to Hong Kong in the year of 1946.
So, it was because of work that he moved.
Uh, in the first place, that time there was a civil war between the communists and the nationalists,
Mm-hmm.
and because my father's employer or his friends was afraid of the communist takeover, they moved part of the operation to Hong Kong and assigned my father as the manager.
Okay.
That's the reason how the whole family moved. However, my half brother and sister, and their mother didn't move.
Why?
I do not know the reason why. Apparently, my father and the other woman was not in good term.
So, tell me about how you felt. Were you scared about what was happening in the country, or?
I was not scared in what happened in the country. The civil war between the communists and the nationalists was going on, and as a boy, I was quite news conscious. I like to read newspaper at a very early stage,
Mm-hmm.
and I follow up all the news, the fighting news, but I was not scared. But when the family decided to go to Hong Kong, I was very excited.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So, tell me about the move.
We board on a steamer. The name of the steamer is Jinan, which is a city name of a city of the province of Shandong, and it is about 4,000-ton steamer operated by the British. We board on that ship and leave Shanghai, sailing about 4 days to until we reach Hong Kong.
4 days?
Yes.
Wow. Did you travel with your mother, or who was on
Yeah,
the
the whole
ship?
family was, except the mother, except my father, my mother, and my two sisters. All together, four of us went from Shanghai to Hong Kong. My younger sister, Jing Xiu, she stayed behind with my grandfather and grandmother.
How old was she?
At the time when we left there, she was about 2 years old
Why did they decide to leave her?
because my grandparents always need a companion, so she was left behind.
Wow. So, out of all of your four children, how come it was her? Because she was the youngest, or?
out of my mother's four children, she was the youngest, and my mother felt guilty of not bringing her out at the same time as we came out. But she turned out to be okay.
Did your mother miss her?
Apparently, she did miss her a lot. So when the communication with communist China regained, my mother visited her many times every year and trying to support her in every way. She felt guilty about it, the whole thing.
Wow. So she was left behind for your grandparents.
Yes.
It wasn't because they couldn't afford to bring her over.
No. It was a request of my grandparents. Before that, my aunt Josie, who is number three in the family, she was staying with my grandfather and grandmother for a long period of time. And when she left my grandpa and grandma and stayed back with us, my grandfather and grandmother was very angry because she was loved by them a lot. So when we leave, we left our younger sister with grandpa and grandmother as compensation, I suppose.
Oh my gosh. So this is your father's parents, or your...
That was my father's parent, yes.
So what happened to them when they passed?
My grandmother passed away quite early. I think she was only 60 years old when she passed away in the 1955, if I remember correct.
So this is after the communists had taken over.
Yes. And my grandfather died about 10 years later than that.
Was your sister with them the whole time?
My no, because my younger sister at the later age she was working as a teacher, and she left my grandparents and worked somewhere else. But when my grandfather died, she was asked to come back to have the last rite with my grandfather.
Okay. Hold on a second. So how did she? So you've talked to her since. How did she feel about being left behind?
She was feeling bitter. She was feeling quite bitter. But my mother was trying to compensate her in every way, giving her financial support, let her buy houses, and actually all the money my mother gave it to her was from me and Aunt Jennifer.
Oh, wow. Hold on a second, okay? I think we're out of tape here.
You have a what?
I think we're out of tape. So
You're out of tape.
I need
Okay.
to change tapes, okay?
Okay.